Hello and welcome to Insight. I'm Natasha Jhabhaskar. Pitching India as the world's destination for the next big idea, Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday asked, if Indians can work in Google, why can't Google be made in India? Talking about his dream of digitally connecting India, Prime Minister Modi launched his ambitious Digital India project. The project aims to create a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. The PM described Digital India as a roadmap to change India's future. The government plan aims to stop net imports of technology and electronics by 2020 while creating over 100 million jobs. Even though India is a global IT powerhouse, the usage of IT in governance and various sectors of the economy is still comparatively low. So is Digital India a transformative program? How is it going to make difference to your life and my life? This is what I'm asking in today's edition of Insight. And joining me on the program today, very esteemed guests, with me, cyber law expert and also advocate Supreme Court, Pawan Duggal. Thank you very much, Mr. Duggal, for joining us in this program. Also with me, Professor Rajat Katuria, who is Director ICRIER. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us in this program. Also with me, Professor Charu Malhotra from Indian Institute of Public Administration. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us here. And with me, Karnika Seth. She's also a cyber law expert. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us. But what sort of combination of efforts will be needed as far as the implementation of Digital India program is concerned?
Well, as regards the program, I call it as a silver lining. It's something like, India is awakening to the fact that now we will have Digital India, and I completely agree it would be empowering. The only concern which I think most of us would agree on will be the implementation challenges. Right. Namely, first of all, the literacy level. Have we really imparted them, the people, the rural population, even the urban population, some part of it, the right knowledge as a prerequisite skill to really use this medium of, technology, which is completely, it's completely new, it's dynamic. It's as if you're telling a child that you hold the firecracker and you burst it, and he has no idea of how to, what kind of cautions are required to do that. The point is, you give them the infrastructure, you give them the technology, and the devices are there, but the preparedness, the mental preparedness to really use it in the right way is also what is equally important. Right, so and I think it cannot be sidelined. It cannot be sidelined. Now, that's one thing. Funding is another, and there are a lot of other issues. But for me, I think the major part being capacity building, I think is a vital role to play in this whole process.
Infrastructure and funding. Now, these are two concerns when we are talking about Digital India. But quickly, your comments on this in terms of challenges and also mobile penetration, because you still have almost 43,000 villages where there is no mobile signal. So when we're talking about universal access to phones, how will this happen?
Well, that's a major, I would say a drawback at this point, because we don't have that kind of penetration, and with the help of mobiles only, I think it will reach rural India very quickly, because it's affordable and it's something that is easily, can be used by even a person who's not really literate, because Hindi letters are also on the mobile. My major concern here as regards legal aspect here is that we don't have a convergence law in India. We are talking about Digital India, but we need to have a convergence law. You can ban sending more than 200 SMSs. There was a ban with TRAI, which I think that was once launched. But then there was a circumvention of that ban through internet. So where is the conversion? We are talking about Digital India. We need to have a convergent law, first of all. And secondly, we also need to look at the other aspect. The IT Act itself has a lot of loopholes. Right. When you talk about the major sections on crime, they have, most of them are bailable sections. As a result, electronic evidence gets tampered. So this is a major problem. So when we talk about laws, a lot of crimes are not even defined, leave alone defined, not even mentioned in the IT Act. So the overhauling of the IT Act in the first place and the convergence law needs to be brought in place, and then it could be a simultaneous exercise, because we are in for Digital India. We are definitely there, but then we want to help to reach it in the right way.
Mr. Duggal, would you like to comment on that sort of convergence which is needed between the mobile penetration and also internet penetration?
Definitely, I think that's the need of the hour. because at the end of the day, you cannot really go ahead and achieve that vision with a handicapped law.
Right.
The law is to basically enable the entire process. And I'm concerned about two important things that are particularly not being talked about. First is the requirement that Digital India must ensure that data of Indians must remain within the territorial boundaries of India. In case if we are going to have intermediaries, and we are going to have large number of intermediaries joining on to the Digital India bandwagon, we have to make sure that they do not take away the data of Indians outside the territorial boundaries.
Because when you're talking about convergence of services, the data will be shared, you know, with other service providers also.
Absolutely.
Add to what
But the
Tamanji
question
is
is,
saying, that there is no convention in India that India has signed for cybercrime, and transborder crimes, examination of those problems, investigation, as we all understand, is a huge problem today.
Right.
And data anonymity is also not there. We don't have any law. You are the authority.
Absolutely.
We don't have any law which says that data can be stored, used, but anonymity of the sender or the provider would be kept.
And
So we need to
more
look into
significant-
it.
Yeah, purely, and more significantly, I mean, we need to somehow look in to what Russia has done a few months back. Russia has actually come up with a law which mandates, well, you are any service provider,
Right.
you're not bothered.
Right.
As far as data of Russians are concerned, they will have to be physically located in Russia. A similar thing will have to be done in India, because imagine if the Indian data of Indians are going to be traveling outside India, it's going to be misused to the detriment of the sovereign interests of India per se. That's one. Number two, the entire rights, obligations and responsibilities of intermediaries need to have a fresh look.
Now, with a huge population like ours, how do you see this really happening? Because this gives me an idea this is going to be really an ambitious task as far as implementation is concerned. You know, if you talk about services, like let's start with passports, which now have the e-Seva thing, e-business portal for investors who want to invest in the country. But again, that's a big challenge. They've said that, you know, ground reality hasn't really changed. Every year is not really coming in at that level. Basic services, you know, even if you have to think of a ration card or of a driving license, still you are struggling. So, you know, when a consumer on the other side wants easier services, how quickly this will happen?
I don't see a way out. I mean, this is the right way. You have to leverage technology to provide for public service delivery and for delivery of other services. Let me give you just one example to see the kind of transformative impact that, you know, e-services can have on people's lives. And you talked about corruption earlier in the program. You know, essentially, you know, if you look at the railways ticketing service, the IRCTC,
Right.
it's been an enormous success. I mean, everybody who's used that portal, who's used to buy tickets, you know, recalls, at least I recall in my college days, standing for hours in queues. And sometimes at the end of the day when I reached the counter to buy my ticket, I was not able to buy a ticket because I was on a waiting list and I had to go back, come back again. The transactions costs that one had to incur, and all that resulted in a lot of corruption and rent seeking and
Right.
black marketing of tickets. Now that system, it hasn't gone away. There is still elements, traces of
But you
corruption.
also have,
in that,
you know,
but it's
instances of a
completely-
slow and a very hanging website. You know,
Right,
when you're trying to
right.
book a
But-
ticket,
but
you know,
that's-
especially
doesn't
between
mean-
the 8 to 10
No,
slot,
sure.
it's impossible.
The
We
fact
have
that
empowered
there-
our citizen now because they moved on from that system to this system, so they're demanding, and that's precisely what we should
So
do.
are we saying that we are also evolving?
Yeah.
If the consumer is evolving, so is the government evolving. Yeah.
Technology has to be leveraged for public service delivery in India and for other delivery of other services, because that's the only way out. You made a point about 1.3 billion people.
Right.
There is no way that you can reach 1.3 billion people by having physical kiosks. You have to leverage technology, and it's available, and the whole world is doing it. And IRCTC is what we need to, if there are problems in IRCTC, we need to fix that digital portal rather than, you know, say that you throw the baby out with the bathwater. There will be problems, but I think the immense opportunities that, you know, Digital India presents
Right.
will take care of a number of things, and Pawan had referred to them
I
in
have a
the
suggestion which is
He referred to
important to make
accountability, he
here.
referred to transparency, you know, all of that.
Okay, yeah.
I have a suggestion to make, that just like we have the free legal aid, we should in rural India, in the phased manner in which you would like to conduct the Digital India program, have an e-knowledge center where you know, the villagers could even come there and understand how to operate the systems, and initially any kind of you know, hitches or hesitation, because you know, the mindset is not there.
And maybe also start with social security schemes, like in the case of
Yes.
MGNREGA, where use
Correct.
of ICTs are really empowered
Correct.
people. And this has happened in states like Andhra and Karnataka, where we have seen tremendous
Yes.
performance. Now, when we are looking at the implementation and execution, your biggest doubts and things which you are completely convinced that we can, you know, easily implement this.
You meant the doubts, or you think
both the things?
Okay,
Yeah.
both the things.
Yeah.
As regards, let's talk about the positive first. As regards the positive features, we are definitely going to have people being empowered through this medium, and we are definitely going to reach out to the masses. And it's going to be a link to various, I would say, especially in terms of rural India, knowledge which they don't otherwise easily get, views of videos or otherwise, even seeds, for example, information on how to grow seeds is something which a farmer would appreciate and get for free. So that's something which I think will be of really immense help to the rural India. And phased manner, those websites which pertain to them in their vernacular languages can be at least, those can be packaged for them, if not the entire internet. And secondly, as regards the doubts, when you say doubts are the capacity building in the first place, as I said. That's number one for me, because unless and until we explain to them, they don't know the value of the thing that they have before them, the gadget, and they have to know the pros and the cons both. So when you talk about data, I mean, the device has to be secure, the technology coming with it has to be secure, proper antivirus is there, and if you're talking about cloud, your DigiLocker schemes, like you're talking about e-governance, the Official Secrets Act is there in place, the biometrical information could be there, there could be several other issues, especially health records. How much secure is going to be that platform is what is the need,
so data privacy is a big challenge.
2 lakh versus national security.
Versus national